Have you ever met someone who seemed mature far beyond their age? A child who doesn't laugh loudly, doesn't ask for much, and somehow understands things that most kids shouldn't have to understand yet. At first, people call them wise, responsible, or so well behaved. But what if that maturity wasn't a gift? What if it was survival? Imagine being 10 years old, but feeling like you're already 30. Imagine learning to stay quiet instead of expressing your feelings. Learning to read the room before speaking. Learning that your emotions might make things worse, so it's better to hide them. This is the psychology of a child who grew up too fast. And if you've ever felt like you had to become an adult long before you were ready, this story might feel very familiar. Before we go deeper, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy content about psychology and human behavior. It really helps the channel grow and allows us to keep exploring powerful topics like this here on Mind Insight. Now let's talk about what actually happens inside the mind of a child who grows up too fast. Most children grow up slowly. They learn about the world step by step. They make mistakes, cry, laugh loudly, and feel safe enough to be themselves. Childhood is supposed to be a time of exploration and emotional freedom. But for some children, that process gets interrupted. Sometimes it happens because of family problems. Sometimes because of emotional neglect. Sometimes because they had to take care of younger siblings. And sometimes because the adults around them were struggling themselves. When this happens, the child unconsciously takes on a role they were never meant to carry. Psychologists call this parentification. It means the child begins acting like the adult in the environment. They become the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who doesn't complain. They learn to solve problems, calm others down, and control their emotions long before they even understand what those emotions mean. From the outside, people often admire this behavior. Teachers may say, "This child is very mature." Family members may say, "You're the strong one." But inside, something very different is happening. Because when a child learns to grow up too fast, they often skip an important part of emotional development. Instead of learning how to express feelings, they learn how to suppress them. Instead of learning how to ask for help, they learn how to handle everything alone. And slowly, without realizing it, the child begins building emotional walls. These walls protect them when they are young. But later in life, those same walls can make relationships difficult. Many adults who grew up too fast struggle with something that psychologists call emotional hyper-awareness. They become extremely good at reading other people's moods. They can sense tension in a room within seconds. They notice small changes in tone, body language, and facial expressions. Why? Because as children, their safety often depended on it. If a parent came home stressed, they had to notice quickly. If an argument was about to happen, they had to prepare emotionally. So their brain learned to constantly scan the environment for danger. This creates adults who are highly empathetic. They're also highly anxious. They care deeply about others, but they rarely feel truly relaxed. Another common pattern appears in their relationships. Children who grew up too fast often become the fixers. They feel responsible for other people's emotions. If someone around them is sad, they try to solve it. If someone is angry, they try to calm the situation. And if a relationship becomes difficult, they often blame themselves first. This happens because deep down they learned a powerful belief during childhood. The belief that love must be earned through responsibility, so they become the partner who gives too much. The friend who listens to everyone's problems. The person who is always strong for others, but rarely allows themselves to be vulnerable. But here's the hidden truth many people don't realize. Growing up too fast creates both strengths and wounds at the same time. These individuals often become incredibly capable adults. They are independent, emotionally intelligent, responsible. They can handle pressure better than most people. But beneath that strength, there is often a quiet exhaustion. Because carrying emotional weight for years changes the nervous system. Their mind becomes used to staying alert even when life is calm. And when someone finally tells them, "You don't have to be strong all the time," it can feel almost uncomfortable. Because strength became their identity. One of the most interesting psychological effects of growing up too fast is the difficulty of reconnecting with your inner child. Many adults who experience this feel strange doing playful things. They may struggle to relax, be spontaneous, or simply enjoy the moment. Their mind is always planning, solving, or preparing. Even happiness can feel unfamiliar at times. But the brain has an incredible ability to heal. Psychologists often explain that awareness is the first step toward emotional recovery. When someone finally understands why they think the way they do, something powerful happens. They begin to forgive themselves. They stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and start realizing this was the environment that shaped me. Healing for someone who grew up too fast doesn't mean becoming a completely different person. It means allowing themselves to slowly reclaim the parts of childhood they missed. Learning that it's okay to rest. Learning that it's okay to say no. Learning that their value doesn't come only from being responsible for everyone else. And perhaps the most important lesson of all, learning that vulnerability is not weakness. In fact, it's one of the strongest forms of emotional courage. When people who grew up too fast finally allow themselves to open up, they often discover something surprising. Others don't see them as weaker. They see them as more human. And this creates deeper, more meaningful relationships. There is also another beautiful side to this story. Many people who experience this kind of childhood develop extraordinary emotional depth. They understand pain, empathy, and resilience in ways that others may take years to learn. They often become great leaders, counselors, creators, and storytellers, because they know what it feels like to carry invisible weight. And that understanding allows them to connect with people on a deeper level. If you recognize yourself in this story, there's something important you should remember. Growing up too fast was never your choice. You adapted to the situation you were in. Your brain did what it needed to survive, and that survival created the person you are today. But now, as an adult, you have something you didn't have before: choice. You can choose to slow down. You can choose to care for yourself the same way you once cared for everyone else. You can choose to create a life where responsibility exists, but joy exists too. And sometimes, the most powerful healing begins with very small moments, laughing without worrying what others think, allowing yourself to rest without guilt, or simply realizing that you don't have to carry the entire world on your shoulders anymore. The child who grew up too fast deserves safety, support, and understanding. And if that child never fully received it, it doesn't mean it's too late. Because healing doesn't have an expiration date. It begins the moment you start listening to yourself with kindness instead of judgment. If this video made you reflect on your own experiences, share your thoughts in the comments. Many people watching might relate to your story, and sometimes reading someone else's experience can help others feel less alone. And if you know someone who grew up carrying too much responsibility too early, consider sharing this video with them. It might help them understand their own mind in a new way. Thank you for spending these moments with us here on Mind Insight.